Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're in the kitchen again today and we are going to make rosemary rolls. These are delicious. They're really fragrant so you can really smell them as they're baking, and they're just a lot of fun. I like to use them for sandwiches, but you can use them for anything you like. So let's get started. First thing we're going to want is about 2 tablespoons of butter. Yes, you can use margarine if you'd like to use margarine. 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using Himalayan. You can, of course, use any salt you like. 1 tablespoon of sugar. And 1 cup of water. Okay? Then we're going to do 3 cups of all-purpose or bread flour, whichever one you have on hand. Try not to spill. A little bit of a shake to shake it down. Then we're going to take about a teaspoon of rosemary, and you're just going to take the rosemary and kind of rub it between your fingers to kind of break it a bit. You don't have to break it a lot. This just helps release some of the flavor and some of the aroma. So just kind of take it between your fingers and give it a squish. So you want to use dried rosemary. You don't want to use fresh because fresh doesn't break as well as this. So just take your dried rosemary, give it a bit of a squish to break up those sticks, and then put your teaspoon of crushed rosemary in your pan. You do want to do that by hand. Don't use a mortar and pestle or anything. You don't want to crush, you only want to crush it a little bit. You don't want to pulverize it. So use your fingers to do that. Finally, 1 heaping teaspoon of yeast, bread machine or quick rise if you're using a bread maker. If you're doing it by hand, you can use traditional or you can use quick rise. It's up to you. Now we're going to use our bread maker today to mix our dough. It only needs to mix, knead, and then allow for our first rise. Then we will come back and we will shape our rolls. And that'll be in about an hour and a half, 2 hours from now. So you do have to allow sufficient rise time. Make sure your bread dough doubles in size. All right, so our dough is ready. You can tell it's ready when it feels like a marshmallow, and you can tell just by once you've made a little bit of dough, you will understand how it feels. It feels like a marshmallow, and you just want to squeeze all that air out. So squeeze the air out of your marshmallow. There we go. Just get all that air out. It's really important. Then we're going to divide our dough into 12 pieces because we're making 12 rolls. You are going to need a cookie sheet or other kind of pan that you can bake these in. There we go. So we're going to start by dividing our dough into 12. Go. And it's okay if a couple of them are a little bit big or small. It doesn't matter. This isn't that precise. You just make a buns. All right, to shape these, it's pretty easy. You just take one of your bits, kind of flatten it out, turn it into a bit of a ball, gather the edges of that circle at the bottom, give it a little bit of a roll like that. That helps flatten out the bottom, and then just give it a press downward. You don't want it, you just want about that thick, about the thickness of your finger. You don't want to flatten it, but you do want to make sure that it's been pressed down just a little bit. Okay, so again, kind of stretch your dough out, push fingers into the middle, gather the edges, and that just helps you make a nice, neat roll. Give it a roll on the bottom and a bit of a press. You're going to make 12 of these. Okay, it's really easy. We're not going to coat them with anything yet. They have to rise, and you're going to want them to rise for about an hour. When you're picking a spot to leave them to rise, you're going to want to pick a place that can help you keep the warmth and humidity in. I recommend sticking them in your microwave, not to cook them, just to sit. Press, lay it down. So you can do anything really for rising. Microwaves are ideal, but you can also just put a damp tea towel over top of everything and call it good. It'll probably take, with this dough, an hour, hour and 15 minutes to rise. And you do want to give it the full amount of time. You want them to double in size. And when we say double in size, it doesn't mean they're going to get huge and high. It just means they'll be double in volume. So they'll be a little higher and a little wider. You do need to give them the full hour at least, maybe longer. So if it's been less than an hour, they're not ready, even if you think they are. So I'm just going to continue doing this, but you don't need to watch me do the rest. So what we're going to do is I am going to stop the video here. I'll finish making the last few, and then we'll set these aside to rise for an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll come back and we will bake them after we put rosemary on top. So we'll be back in about an hour and a half. All right, so our buns have risen. They are now doubled in size, so we are ready to top our rosemary rolls. It should come as no surprise that we are topping our rosemary rolls with rosemary. So in order to get the rosemary to stick, we're going to need an egg wash. So just take one egg, take your basting brush and kind of bash that egg up. You don't have to truly whisk it. I'm just going to use my basting brush because that's what I'm using on the buns themselves. And I don't want to waste dishes because I already have so many to wash anyway. So just give that a whisk just with your basting brush. Then you're going to brush egg onto each bun, giving them a nice coating. It's really easy to do. Cover them up nicely. You don't want a super thick coating, but you don't want to skimp on this either. Go. Okay. Now you are going to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit while you're doing this. 375. And these are going to bake for 20 to 25 minutes. Check them at 20. Mine are usually done right at the 20-minute mark, but you might have to wait until the 25-minute mark. Ovens do vary, so you're going to want to check. So again, 375, and you're going to bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. There we go. There we go. Nicely done. Perfect. Now we're going to take our rosemary. Just give it, again, a little bit of a crush between your fingers. It helps release the fragrance and the flavor. There we go. You don't have to do too much, just a little. And then we're just going to top each roll with some rosemary. Very easy to do. You can use as much or as little as you like. It's up to you. Rosemary is delicious, but for some people it can be overpowering, so you don't have to put as much as I am putting if you don't want to. It's all up to you. But I happen to adore rosemary. So you could put less. You could put only about that much on your rolls if that's what you want. Up to you. But I'm going to add a little more to that one because I do enjoy rosemary on my rolls. So again, 375, preheat the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. We'll come back when they're done. And there you have it. Rosemary rolls ready for the dinner table, fragrant and delicious. I hope you've enjoyed making rosemary rolls with us here today at Andersen Acres. Hopefully you'll try these at home. They're a crowd pleaser and they're a lot of fun. See you tomorrow.